or whatever you do. And it's another thing to do a talk show, because then you have to start asking questions of everybody.
Robin Leach has also signed up to star in his own late-night talk show on ABC. And according to Variety Weekly, Fox executives are preparing their stations for David Letterman. In Los Angeles, I'm Greg Agnew for E! News Week in Review.
NBC representatives will not comment on the firing or who will be new executives.
Gone through a divorce, and if you don't, there are certainly plenty to read about in the newspapers and the tabloids. There's even a great show called Civil Wars, and it's got that sexy Mariel Hemingway. Isn't it nice to know divorce is so popular? It's even got its own TV show. In fact, it is one of the best hour-long dramas on the air. Well, today we are going to meet the outstanding cast of Civil Wars, and we'll talk with two of the most famous real divorce lawyers in the world. Marvin Mitchelson is here, and Richard Golub, and they've handled some of the big star-studded cases like Donald and Ivana Trump and Joan Collins and Peter Holm. And anyway, before we get to the real stuff, we thought that we would meet the people who dazzle us each week with their portrayals of honest, hard-working, principled lawyers, and that is what I call great acting. The entire cast of Civil Wars: Mariel Hemingway, Peter Onorati, Debbie Mazur, David Marciano, and Alan Rosenberg. Welcome them.
You want to sit there? Sure. You can sit here if you want, Debbie. You can interview everybody. I love to. You look like Pepe Le Pew.
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui. You look like a little French artiste tonight, don't you?
Oui.
Oui, très bien.
I just popped my
You all have been working all day, yeah? Since, what, 5 a.m. or some ridiculous thing?
Not all of them.
About. No.
So,
We work, but in stages. Yeah,
stay awake long enough to tell everybody about. Let's start by talking about your characters. Who they are.
Who's my character?
Yeah.
Sydney is a lawyer in New York. She came from the Midwest. I think she represents very well a modern woman in the 90s who has taken on a career and does it very well, but does it from a very female point of view. I think that, what I'd like to do with the character, what I'm trying to do with her, is represent her in such a way that she is strong by being a woman, not by being a woman or a man dressed up like a woman. I think it comes from her femininity. I mean, I think the 80s were about women
to clarify
trying
that you are not a man dressed up as a woman. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, in case
they were wondering. No, you're trying to be a woman as a
Well, I think that the difference is that now women are taking charge by being feminine as opposed to trying to be like men in the business world.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where my character is unique.
Okay. Debbie, tell us about your character.
My character's named Denise Iannello.
And you really talk that way.
Really sounds. Denise is from
You're
Queens.
not from New York, are you?
No, I'm from Queens.
Oh, I'm
Queens,
sorry.
New York.
Yeah.
And so is Denise, as a matter of fact. And she's from a lower middle class family, Italian-American, to interracial neighborhood. She goes to work on the subway every day and, deals with, the bump and grind of the morning hustle. And I think she's just trying to make good with herself, trying to make her money and, further herself. She works very hard. She's a legal secretary. At this point, she has she doesn't want to pursue law, but she's got her hands, dipped into Sydney and Pete's cases and Eli's, and she's a hopeless romantic. Instead of falling in love with a cousine, she fell in love with a poet, a messenger, which is kind of unlikely. She's tired of...
You two are like a romantic, you're actually married on the show.
Well, now we're married, yes.
Oui, oui.
Is that why the matching hats? Is that why?
No, it just happened that way.
Yeah. And you're sort of like comic relief, aren't you? I mean,
Are we good?
well, maybe it's sort of light and thing. I mean, I know, speaking for myself, and I don't know how other people feel, it's kind of hard for me to watch this show and watch people beating the hell out of each other constantly. You know, it's depressing, kind of.
Yeah, we lighten it up.
Hard.
We lighten it up.
We try.
Yeah.
We're trying to get our personal lives a little lighter.
Unfortunately, you know, well, never mind. I shouldn't tell you what's happening.
Tell us what's happening.
We have a little drama going on in our relationship, too. But it just gives a little spice, that's all. You know.
A little spice is
Yeah.
good. Peter, what about your character?
Charlie Howe is probably grew up not too far from Denise's character, or Debbie's character, Denise, who is probably the first professional in his family, probably the first one to go to college. His father was a cop in New York City. We try to get across the idea that he's pretty much street smart, but has learned to make that work for him in courtroom situations, in the situations he deals with, and with the people that he deals with. And he loves the combat of, I mean, that was the line they gave me in the first show, and that we've tried to embody a little bit, is to, you know, love the combat, see things work out.
And Alan, you played an attorney as well, yes?
I think so, yeah.
You think so?
I don't quite know who I am or where I am. That's part of my problem.
I'm his mother.
Yes. Last year, Mariel adopted me, yeah. So, kind of a mother and
My
son.
character adopted.
I had some psychological problems last year. My wife divorced me on the show before the series started, and as a product of that, and partly fighting the divorce wars for 15 years, I kind of freaked a little bit and dropped out of the firm, and now I keep trying to make my way back. I'm in a healing phase now, thank goodness. And that's it. I'm always looking. I'm always looking for the truth, trying to tell the truth. But what's interesting this year is they're letting me be a lawyer, and he's more crafty than people would have thought last year. I mean, I think people tend to trust Eli and think he's very ethical, but he has quite a few tricks up his sleeve, too. Just like...
Have you three who played attorneys, have you studied real attorneys at all? Did you do that at all in preparation for the show, or do you? Or do you have like a technical advisor or anything like that, or?
Being that the show is set in New York, there are certain specific laws that are particular to the state of New York, so there was some research that we had to do. We got a few books about divorce law in New York. That's about the extent of what I did, except for at college I studied law a little bit, but it wasn't to be a lawyer. It was, you know, with another major. But mostly, since New York is, in particular, I think there's only 3 states like New York, we had to do a little research and see...
Oh, do you have weird laws there? Are there weird laws
in New York? Yeah, well, New York is...
There are weird laws in a lot of states.
New York is not a no-fault state like California is. Grounds for divorce have to be litigated unless you live apart for a year, for instance, but then you still have to have a court decree. There's a whole bunch of legal stuff that has to go on. Whereas in California, you know, pretty much if you want to say, hey, bye, you can go.
I'm out of here. Well, that's why
You had to set it in New York for that reason, then,
yeah? Yeah, that's what brings it into the courtroom.
Because it's still sort of crazy back there. Do you find that attorneys, I find that attorneys, generally litigators, are very cocky, very egotistical.
Actors.
Have you...
They're like actors. Not like actors, but they act...
Well, but I mean, they are, sort of, aren't they? When they get in the courtroom, it's really like that's their...
I think the really good lawyers are like that. I think the ones that are really exciting to watch, that we've seen, are the ones that really that are very dramatic, and they use the people, you know, and I think it's funny, but they've said that often that in law schools they use a bit of these law shows to show lawyers how to work courtrooms.
How to act, how to do it. Now, you all are from New York, all 4 of you, yes?
New Jersey.
And you guys all grew up, did you grow up near each other? Was I right?
15, 20 miles away from each other.
3 of us.
So how did that work out?
We never have to tell punchlines to each other's jokes.
New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey.
So you all know the beginning of the joke?
Yeah.
So can one of you start a joke and the other one finishes? Go ahead, let's go for it. You don't have a good New Jersey
He's
joke?
the jokester.
We're dramatic actors.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ask you to be funny. Now, where are you from, Mariel?
I guess I'm the...
Are you the
country,
but
yes, I'm from Idaho.
Really?
Yeah, I'm from
didn't know
Ketchum,
that.
Idaho. That's where I grew up.
Wow.
I've spent a lot of time in New York, you know.
Now, how does a girl from Ketchum, Idaho end up doing a first... You like the first nude scene on TV, weren't you? More or less? Did you all see this? Well, for those of you who didn't, I think perhaps we should take a look at this, since we have to have it.
We have to?
Because if I don't start feeling comfortable, I think I'd like to cut it short.
If you're uncomfortable, we can stop, Sydney. But can I ask you just one favor?
Yeah? What?
Could you take off your bathrobe? It's going to be great, Sydney.
In pain.
Well, I suppose we have to take a little break now, but when we come back, I want to find out what it was like shooting that. That's like a first for television, wasn't it?
I guess so. I didn't realize it'd be such a big deal.
Did you guys, I bet your ratings went through the roof that night, though, no?
We did pretty well.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, you got a fairly nice
But the next week was the problem.
What happened? Peter took his clothes off?
No.
I'm just teasing. We're going to be back. We'll find out what it was like to shoot that, and we're going to meet men who know the ins and outs of the real divorce court. They've represented some of the most public celebrated cases in America. Stay with us. We'll be back.
In that same spirit of adventure, would you do me a favor?
What?
Don't ever give up on the chance that you and I, sometime, that we might get together romantically.
Is that because you saw a picture of me nude?
Well, it's because you got nerve. You keep pitching, keep looking for ways to make yourself happy. Keep letting life surprise you.
Thanks.
I'll see ya.
With the cast of Civil Wars, Mariel Hemingway, Peter Onorati, Debbie Mazur. They've actually switched seats now, for those of you who are checking. Alan Rosenberg, David Marciano. Well, I do want to get to that sexual tension thing, but tell me about shooting a nude scene. Does it just become like second nature?
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, truly, I didn't think it was going to be such a big deal. It wasn't. I mean, I've made a lot of movies that, you know, I made Star 80, I played a playmate, and I had to be nude in that, so it wasn't that big a deal. So when I read it, it didn't seem that... Well, when this thing started to come out and it was going to be on the airways, there was such a stink about it. But yeah, filming it is not comfortable. I mean, even though it's going to go out to however many millions of people will see it, doing it is always different because the crew sees more than what you're actually going to see out there.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking.
Does your crew all of a sudden look at you differently, sort of?
Our presence.
I hope so.
I mean, was it like a closed set and only 2 people saw you and that
Closed
kind
set.
of thing?
No, they were really, the crew on the show is wonderful, and they were very respectful, and they were very, very sweet, and they never said anything. No, I don't think they look at, did they look at me? I hope not.
No. They never said anything.
Oh, gosh, we'll probably never get to the bottom of this. Now, what about the sexual tension between you two? Is anything ever going to happen there?
I think only after I do a nude scene, maybe.
And you strip down.
Yeah, if you keep watching, I think we give each other interesting Christmas presents. I'll tell you that much about it.
Yeah.
So,
They're
which has to
flirting
do
with
with
the
sexual
idea.
tension.
Are they? Do you worry, or do they worry, the writers at all worry that it'll become a moonlighting deal where once it happens, it's over for the audience?
They always worry about something like that because that's all people have to go back to is what happened before. But the Bochco organization is the only group of people who have ever written sex successfully week after week with Hill Street, with Veronica Hamill and Dan Travanti always closing every other episode being in bed, and it got by and it did fine, you know?
I think also they were worried about that last year because nobody knew what the show was, and they were worried that that would be, oh, they're trying to be David and Maddie from Moonlighting. Now that people realize that's not at all what we're like, that's not what the characters are like, they're not afraid of that anymore. So now we can do what we need to do as characters or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't teased each other or the audience. People who work together don't have time to tease each other. Either you like or love one another, or you don't. And sometimes when something like that happens, it happens at the spur of the moment. It's not always led up to.
Uh-huh. Now, can we talk about how, in your real life, are there any parallels between attorneys and divorces and things that happen in the script? And does real life ever cross over into the scripts at all?
Well, as far as the cases on the show go, and our personal lives, oftentimes it'll bleed out. I mean, like last year, our last show, he was going out with one of my best friends, and she tells me about sleeping with him, and I, you know, because best friends do that, as you know, especially girlfriends. And he gets like really out of control. Just can't believe that she's violated this sort of sense of, I don't know, whatever. And privacy. I just don't get that. But so I'm at the same time doing a case where I'm representing a man whose wife had an affair, and she talks about it to a friend, but not just to one friend, but like several friends. And I'm defending him, his side, and then all of a sudden it like dawns on me that I'm defending this poor man who's like feels violated. Right. That his sense of privacy has been violated, and I've done the same thing to Charlie.
Now wait, you're talking about in real life he slept with your girlfriend?
Not in my real
on the show. Well, I'm talking about like in real life. Have you ever, have anybody had a friend? No, I was just wondering if anybody's had a friend go through a divorce and you go, oh my God, we just did this on the show and here's what happened. That's boring to you. No, I was trying to keep it all straight.
No, I think one of the things that happens a lot with our characters, I know Debbie's playing the kind of a girl who came from an area that she came from. I in my real life, I've come from a blue-collar background. My father's owns the small construction company in New Jersey with my uncle, and was also a cop at one time, which my father is in.
Now, you're happily married.
Yeah,
in real life?
Yeah.
Who else? Alan, you're happily married.
Yes, I am.
You're happily married. Yes. Just looking at this stuff week after week and these hideous, horrible divorce cases ever make you think, oh my God, if I ever go through a divorce, I'm not gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna kill myself, or.
I thought about prenuptial. You know, and having to think about like all these new things that I really didn't think about before.
Now, do you have a significant other, Debbie?
I've had. Yes. At the moment, no, but you know, during the show, in my own personal life, I've gone through my little scenes, and you get reminded, you know, working on a divorce show of like all the petty things that go on between couples, and
yeah,
it can be very close.
Do you think differently about your personal relationships at all?
Makes you feel lucky when you got something that's working well for you at home.
Yeah.
It just makes you strive for a healthier relationship because you see so much ugly stuff, you know, in the show.
Divorce is never easy. I mean, we've done divorces that are supposedly amicable, and they always end up horrible.
Oh, it's horrible. So it's like the worst of everybody comes out in a divorce.
I think what happens is that when you love somebody that much, it creates that much hatred because you just can't believe, you just get petty. It's just, people get petty. They can't help it because there was so much feeling there at one point, and then the feeling goes all the way to the other side.
Yeah, I think one of our real attorneys who is going to come out in a little while said that your entire life is under scrutiny and everything ends up in a folder, basically. Every intimate moment of your life ends up in a folder. Anyway, we have to take a break on that depressing note. We have spent a little time with our TV lawyers, but now we're going to welcome two men who between them have represented some of the biggest names in show business and in the headlines. Please welcome Marvin Mitchelson and Richard Golub. These guys.
On Vicki, find out how super sexy Linda Gray stays beautiful the healthy way.
I have a mountain bike. I have roller blades.
Trainer David Sinnott shows you how to use items around the house.
I don't believe I've seen you around my house, David, at all.
To take the fat off those panties.
Here, you do it with these.
Plus, get beauty from your blender with Beverly Sassoon.
How's that?
Learn to look, eat, and feel healthier with household health tips from head to toe on Vicki.
You can find sex in the library.
They're available for children.
Madonna's erotic new book, Sex, that is.
Madonna's fantasies are important to pop culture of today.
And on the next Mari, you'll see why a lot of parents are real mad at Madonna.
That's not the kind of education we want our young people to get.
Plus, hear why these former football stars are taking an offensive stance against X-rated entertainment.
It teaches infidelity. It teaches against love.
It's all on the next Mari.
Today at 1 on KCAL TV, California 9.
Do you entertain? Not a great deal.
Well, we've been living on Avenue C, and you come down there.
By the way, if you've read the bylaws, you may have noticed there's a limit on the number of guests you can host at one time.
What, you saying we pay all this money and there's a rule as to who we can invite over?
Not so much who as how many.
Well, how many?
10.
So basically you're saying if Jesus Christ lived in your building, he wouldn't be able to invite all the apostles over to his house for the Last Supper. Am I right?
We're visiting with the cast of Civil Wars, plus 2 attorneys for the rich and the famous who have been involved in a lot of civil wars. Can we talk, Marvin and Richard, about how right on is Civil Wars? Have you seen the show, first off, and how
I've
close
seen
are
the
they?
show. It's on, but in real life, it's about 10 times worse than it is depicted, of course, on an hour television, because some cases go on for weeks and months. You see, when people get a divorce, their emotions immediately come to the forefront, and it's hard to settle cases when people are angry, and they're usually jealous, even though they think they both want to get a divorce. They're angry about something, they're jealous, there's revenge involved, and you usually have to walk the courthouse steps, literally, to get a case settled, although sometimes it works out. So you see the worst of people. I've always said that otherwise sane people are temporarily insane when they go through divorce.
Definitely. Are you two happily married?
Well, Marvin and I happily married?
Not to each other.
Marvin a long time ago, but I mean, you know, he's...
Are you married, Marvin?
I've been married for 31 years.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear
coming up.
that.
But actually, Marvin and I did have a case together in 1978 where we both represented men that wanted to get divorced. So I called it the first gay ammonia case. But
two guys?
Two guys. One of them came to Marvin in California, and one of them came to me in New York, and they considered themselves married, and they wanted to get unhinged. So.
You know, one of the definitions of marriage is the unionization of two people. You don't necessarily have to have a license.
That's Marvin.
That's why I came up with Pelham.
Well, that's Marvin's law.
Yeah,
Who won that case?
We resolved it, didn't we?
Yeah, we resolved that
On
case.
the courthouse steps?
No, we settled it. Most cases get settled eventually, but when they do go to court, there's usually a real battle.
Now, Mariel, you're married to who?
Steve Chrisman.
And how long have you guys been married?
8 years.
And kids?
2 kids.
Yeah. Peter?
I'm married to Jeanette Collins. She's a producer, sitcom producer, and I have...
She produces A Different World, yes?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And we have twin boys and an older boy. Everybody under 3.5, though.
And you're married how long?
4 years.
Debbie, you're still working on the prenuptial agreement, and we don't know who the recipient is. David?
I'm married just over a year.
Oh, well, congratulations. How's it going?
Very good. First year was a bit difficult, a bit rocky. Adjustment period, but we seem to got things straightened out. I had no need to call Marvin.
That's
you
good.
must have lived together for a while, though, didn't you? We did.
But, and now, was I reading that there was a case that you guys did on the show that you, what about the Oriental case, where the Oriental man wanted the Oriental woman to what?
There was a Japanese businessman who wanted his wife to stay within the confines of what a Japanese wife should do in Japanese culture. And living in America, she didn't want to do that anymore. She wanted to go to school and be a full-fledged woman.
We Americanized her.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Didn't work out.
So what happened?
Actually, what happened was that he, and I was afraid of what this was going to look like, but most people thought it actually came off very real. He was so disgraced by her behavior within his own cultural norms that he attempted to commit seppuku, harakiri, in the courtroom, and she realized what it meant to him, and she probably would have won the case. It came in the day that the verdict was coming in her full ceremonial, I'm not sure if it's geisha, but it looked geisha garb, and gave me a note and said, I withdraw.
Sounds like a reverse Madam Butterfly.
A little bit. It sort of does. Alan, are you married?
Yes,
To?
to an actress, Marg Heldenberger, from
China Beach. Yes. Children?
A 2-year-old boy. Yeah.
And how long are you guys married?
3 years.
Okay.
Lived together first and we've been married for 3 years.
Yeah.
They're away now in New Zealand shooting a mini-series, so I've been alone for the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
Very
How
difficult.
hard is that? That's hard.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
My boy left. He was a baby. I get pictures of him. He seems like a young man now. He's speaking full sentences, going over my lines with me. It's amazing.
Now, can you guys, Marvin, Richard, can you tell us about some of the really famous or hideous cases that you've handled?
One of the more
Well, I mean,
interesting
like
ones-
Donald and Ivana, that was
Well,
ridiculous.
actually, Joan Collins, I represented
Joan
her. Remember
Collins.
that about 4 or 5 years ago. And the interesting thing there, Peter Holm, the husband she shed, he had a prenuptial with her where he had 20% of her gross earnings, which, as people in this business know, that's a lot of money, but he wasn't satisfied. He wanted to get half of everything under community property laws. He lost the case, but I think anyone could have won it because he was a little bit overreaching and greedy. But the highlight of the case was that in the middle of the trial, some lady came forth and said she's had an affair with Peter Holm. Early in the morning when Joan goes off to the studio, they're up on Mulholland Drive making love. And the man, he'd take out a little purple flower and say, "You're my passion flower." So I produced her in the middle of this trial, and she got up there and she told the whole story, and it's triumphant almost verse, and suddenly I said, "You're a witness," and I turned around, she'd fainted. She was taking a handful of pills, and it finally got to her. I didn't know that. So I ran up, I pulled her up, and I said, "You got to be subject to cross-examination." She falls down again. Third time, she has a zipper in front, pulls it down, everything comes out. The judge says, "Clear the courtroom, call the paramedics." Well, we had to strike all of her testimony, but we won anyway. But it was a very dramatic case.
My Lord. We'll hear about your... What's a good case you're going to tell us about, Richard?
Well, I can talk about the William Hurt case, the cross-examination.
Okay,
of
let's
that
talk
case,
about it. We have
and,
to take a
there's
break. We'll talk about it when we come back, and we're going to hear about the marriages of Donald Trump and some more real-life civil wars when we come back.
Hi, everybody. Call and let me know what you think about my show. Don't spare my feelings. I'm a big girl. I can take it. And if you say something nice, maybe you'll even be a guest on the show. Just call 1-900-28-VICKY. That's 1-900-288-4254. Call costs 75 cents, and you must be at least 18 to call.
Sweet dreams begin with Cabbage Patch Kids' Little Lullaby. She sings your little one to sleep with this classic lullaby.
Who deserves the very best. British Sterling, the legendary fragrance for men.
Now, we've been told that these various incidents were intended only as humor. However bawdy they may have been, all they were jokes. Well, they are not the kind of jokes that Mr. DeSantos tells his wife, nor the wives of his friends. In fact, these kinds of jokes are the ones that he reserves for people over whom he has power. Now, this woman believes that this courthouse exists so that people that endure what she's had to endure have some place to go. She has come to you seeking justice. I beg of you that you not refuse her.
With the cast of Civil Wars and two famous attorneys, Marvin Mitchelson and Richard Galver here. They've been through some real-life civil wars on behalf of their celebrity clients. Was that your closing argument, Alan?
Yeah.
Can you guys critique that? Was that well done?
You don't really have jury trials in divorce cases, except in New York you can have a jury trial on grounds. So you're not going to turn around in a divorce case and start, doing something that's dramatic in front of a jury. You do that in most commercial cases.
I thought that was a pretty good argument.
It was
excellent. It wasn't a divorce case.
But it wasn't a divorce case.
Oh, I see. Well, then...
Yeah, I don't
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
You did it like a true lawyer.
Thank you very much.
So you don't have a jury. So what exactly?
You normally don't have juries in divorce cases. They just don't. Texas used to have that, though, quite a bit.
Oh, Texas
I think they
still
just
does.
changed, though.
Texas still does. The Dave Winfield case was tried in front of a jury. As a matter of fact, a 12-man jury. And if more divorce cases were tried in front of juries. I'm a firm believer in the jury system. Instead of judges, you'd have a lot different verdicts.
And paternity...
Because judges see it completely different ways than, in a completely different way than a jury sees it.
Have you ever had a case where you really couldn't get a judge to listen to you at all?
A jury, you mean?
Many.
No, to you. The judge was just totally swayed in a direction that you couldn't sway them from? Have you ever had that happen? You had that happen on the show one time, didn't you?
We just did a show where the judge, played by Louise Fletcher, was going through a divorce herself. And she suspects, in her divorce, suspects her husband of having an affair. And in my case, I'm defending the husband, and there's nothing I could do to make her, she was just, everything was...
There are pro-women and pro-men judges, you'll find. And we encounter that and try to get in different courtrooms when that happens.
Yeah, or you have to slant the case so that you're...
Slant the case a little bit. There are jury cases in paternity cases. You can have a jury in most states. You can in California as well. So that's a different kind of...
So what was the William Hurt case? Was that a...
It was a common law marriage case.
It was, okay.
Which is a different kind of thing where you're not formally married in church, and two people say to each other that we're married, and then they're married, and there are 14 states in the United States where that happens. And Texas is one of them, South Carolina. It's the way marriage was always consummated, except that now laws have been passed to get married in a church and you take out a license from the state. So what we were essentially trying to prove was in South Carolina, Sandra Jennings and William Hurt had not just one conversation, but many conversations, and where they both told each other they considered themselves married. They lived together for 3.5 years. They also had a child. There was a lot more to that.
You represented her.
I usually represent women.
Well, okay, big guy. We have a...
No, I didn't mean it that way. I meant women usually come to me.
I didn't mean it that way either.
Yeah,
I was just kidding you. We have a clip of you cross-examining...
Pursue the needs of women.
I understand that.
Yeah.
We have a clip of you cross-examining William Hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah?
On television.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at that.
What do you mean by burned? Scorched. What do you mean by scorched? Overheated. It's hurt, harmed, wounded. Body heat. Get off that crap.
You being a little hard on William?
No, he's a jerk. And you know, when I was cross-examining him, I was asking him questions, and I said to him, and at least in my mind, he's a jerk. And I said to him, what happened in 1982 in December when this conversation occurred between you and Sandra Jennings? He said, I don't remember. Give me the script, and I'll tell you. So he actually looked at the trial as if it were a movie. And he went back and he memorized all of the deposition Q&As, and he knew the script for the trial right down the line. It was very difficult to break him on cross-examination because he had memorized all the pretrial testimony.
Well,
and
in his defense, don't you think maybe he did that deliberately so that he wouldn't get emotionally involved?
No, he was very emotionally involved in the cross-examination. Well, there was a whole conversation going on between him and me all through the trial. I mean, that little TV...
what happened with that case? Did you win that case?
No, I lost that case. I lost it.
Uh-oh.
I could say I won it. I mean, everybody would have to look it up, but I lost it. You know.
No, I was just curious. Yeah. We have to take a break, but we'll be back with more real-life civil wars in a minute. Write to us at Vicki, 3000 West Alameda Avenue, room 2977, Burbank, California, 91523.
Jeffrey, tell me something. On what occasion when one sends a card like this?
What occasion?
Yeah, what occasion?
You know, I think Denise raises a valid question there.
Short and sappy, that's what they want.
Short and sappy?
Yeah.
I got short and sappy. You ready? You've lodged in my heart like a bone in my throat. Stretch me out and watch me choke.
That's good.
That's good.
It's great.
I think that's really good.
You like that?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Hey, Denise, they like it.
We're back. with attorneys Richard Golub and Marvin Mitchelson and the cast of Civil Wars, Alan Rosenberg, David Marciano, Debbie Mazur, Peter Onorati, and Mariel Hemingway. Interesting side note, Miss Debbie. Does everybody know that you were Madonna's makeup artist? And
they will now.
When she was on Broadway.
I used to do her makeup for years.
You did her makeup for years?
Yeah, a lot of other people as well, but I worked with her for years. I was a makeup artist and a hairdresser before I was an actress.
What's she like?
She's great. Hardworking. She's a wonderful lady.
Yeah? You had fun working with her?
Yeah, I did.
How do you get from doing somebody's makeup to being on a hit TV series?
I had always wanted to act, and I ended up doing, my makeup was more theatrical, and I ended up in the theater. And after a while, I felt like All About Eve. You know, I was always in the background. I knew all the lines. I said, oh, finally, I was like, forget it. I'm going to my acting class. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah?
So I dropped it. I couldn't do both anymore. You know, I wasn't succeeding in both. You know,
good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Go for it. Go for those dreams.
Good she's not her wardrobe artist. She wouldn't have much to do.
Really?
Madonna.
You don't like a Pepe Le Pew, the French artiste? By the way, I have to say that being a big fan of William Hurt, he's not here to defend himself. And
oh, you can bring him on. Okay.
Some of us do not think that William Hurt is a jerk, and I just wanted to clarify.
Well, I meant that in the acting
in a
sense.
loving fashion, you meant it.
Yeah.
In a losing fashion, maybe you meant it. Who did the Donald Ivana Trump case?
Well, we didn't do it, but of course, I got a lot of business from it. Everyone would call and say, what do you think? And this went on for months and months and months.
I represent Donald from time to time in a lot of other things. And
well, what about that case? Wasn't she like sworn to silence or something?
Well, that's the invasion of privacy case where she wrote the book about Donald.
Right.
And that there was a provision in
the agreement, and then a judge struck it out, and she went ahead and wrote the book.
Well, a prenuptial agreement.
Right.
But she had to remain silent about anything that went on between the two of them in the marriage. And she went and wrote a book which she invaded his commercial right of privacy, which is a whole other separate area of the law, which means that everybody has the right not to have themselves commercialized unless someone pays them for it. That's Section 51 of the Civil Rights Law in New York, in case I know you're all fascinated by that. But anyway, it went up to the Court of Appeals.
Which section was that?
It was 50. It's 50 and 51.
51.
Yeah, but anyway.
Thanks, Mariel.
Yeah, but Marvin's a real maven of that.
Who has questions up here? Comments? Yeah, stand up.
Yeah. This is for Richard and Marvin. When you're talking with your clients, do you tell them how much more they can get than they're actually asking for?
Well,
like in the Donald and Ivana, do you say, well, you could get a couple more billion if you want?
A couple more billion, huh? Go for it, big guy.
If a client wants to know what they're entitled to, obviously the lawyer should try to tell them what he thinks they're entitled to. But usually you have to find out what's involved before you can give that kind of an opinion. So you need to do what we call discovery and investigate and see what the assets are. And you want to properly advise. Otherwise, a client turns around, comes back, and sues the lawyer and says, you didn't tell me that I was entitled to half, or you didn't tell me that his assets were $5 million instead of $1 million.
Do you two feel like you really are helpful in the divorce process, or I mean, like, or do you really make it worse? Are you part of the solution?
No, I don't think. I think that's an excellent question, and since you're dressed in a three-piece suit, you're entitled to a good answer. The lawyers are just catalysts. The real problem is the litigants. The husbands and wives these days, they come into his office or my office or any lawyer's office, and they're so revved up and they're so predisposed in terms of their anger and their hatred. Divorce cases are really violent these days.
You see,
go ahead.
Oh, good.
You can finish that.
I think when you come to a lawyer, they think the lawyers start all this trouble. When someone comes to a lawyer's office, believe me, they've been to the priest, the rabbi, the psychologist, their best friend. They've been to all the stops, and usually that's the last stop. So they're ready to do something, and they're full of anger usually.
Okay, we'll be back. Marvin Mitchelson, Richard Golub, and a cast of Civil Wars, and you had a comment, huh, Cutes? Come on, stand up.
I wanted to tell
Stand
you.
all the way up. Well, no, he was standing like that.
I wanted to tell Debbie you have real pretty eyes.
Oh, thank you. That's nice. Thank you.
What is your name?
Josh.
How old are you, Josh?
I'm 14.
You little devil, you. Who else had a comment up here or a question? Yeah, stand up.
For Richard, I want to know if you're the lawyer that does all those videos and everything.
Yeah, I've done a few music videos. Yeah.
Music videos?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Are you a closet rock star or something?
No, I've done 3 music videos, and one is played regularly on. But I get 2 have played regularly on television around the States and in Europe and Sky Television, and it's on Virgin Airways.
Wait, did they have anything to do with your attorney thing, or are they?
Well, the first video I did was called "He Is My Lawyer," and it's anyway. The second video I did is called "Dancing for Justice," and.
Did you, Richard, you or Marvin, would you ever have any desire to trade places with these
Marvin
guys?
also has a couple of music videos too, right, Marvin?
Do you ever have a desire to be an actor, either one of you?
Are you the
We are actors for real, you see, but we're actors. We're people's property or freedom is at stake, and it's a very serious thing. But divorce lawyers, courtroom lawyers are actors, believe me.
But you never had any desire, you wouldn't want to trade places with these guys?
Well, I wouldn't mind doing a show.
The only reason that most lawyers become lawyers is because they saw it on television. They saw lawyers portrayed on television, like Gregory Peck in To Kill a Mockingbird. I became a lawyer because I saw a movie called Party Girl, which was an Avco Embassy film. It's a movie starring Robert Taylor, which was made in 1958. And
Richard, you're a spin-off, you know it. Did you have a question here? Time for a couple more stand-up, couple more quick questions. Yeah.
I understand Peter started as a stand-up comic.
Is that true, Peter?
I left the business world. I was a marketing executive and started in stand-up comedy. Yeah, as I was doing as a hobby when I was in marketing, and then I just dropped it all and started stand-up full-time and took some acting lessons.
And look at you now.
Why?
Yes?
I was wondering if Peter and Mariel are going to get closer in the sitcom.
I tried to get them to fess up if you guys are going to get together, but I don't know. Yes? Are you going to give us a yes, a maybe, or a
Yeah.
keep watching?
Yeah,
yes?
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
how tall are you, Mariel?
Tall.
How tall are you?
Well, when I go on auditions, I'm 5'9". That's good. I'm really 5'10½".
Wow. How amazing. I want to thank all of you guys from Civil Wars, and I want to thank you, Marvin Mitchelson, Richard Golub. It was real interesting, and I hope not.